Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Out of the Crisis 2 webinar. My name is Doug Hall, founder and CEO of the Eureka Ranch and the Innovation Engineering Institute. And I'm just going to pause for a second just to make sure that we're getting signal out there. If somebody could answer a question, just want to get audio and video. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. Just doing it. And by the way, one of the things that you can do is down below, you can type in questions that we can see here. If you have audio and no video, sometimes if you log out and log in is a quirk of GoToWebinar. So if you don't have video, try logging out and logging back in again. Oftentimes that will solve that problem. But we've got people there who have audio and people who've got it. So we will continue on. This is Out of the Crisis 2. It is named in honor of Dr. W. Edwards Deming, who wrote a book called Out of the Crisis, which we will be covering in a minute. This webinar is brought to you by the Innovation Engineering Network, and this is just a very small proportion, actually, of the complete network. The complete network is actually quite large right now and is growing every month. But these are network members who have guests on the webinar today. And we thank them for their support, and they're literally all over the world. We have people. We have 50 state coverage here, complete every province of Canada that we can support folks. So it's a wonderful and growing network, as you'll learn. So here we go. The crisis in 1979 that Dr. Deming talked about was the quality gap versus Japanese products. And the solution back there in 1979, 1980 was to apply systems thinking to innovation. To apply systems thinking to manufacturing. The crisis today is how the internet transforms companies and careers into price-driven commodities. The crisis today. The internet creates a true free market. Competition is now global and everywhere. Price value transparency puts pressures on us, and customers are in more control because they can learn the real truth. Today, the internet is creating a crisis like none other. It's accelerated the level and speed that technology is coming forth. Here is the growth in U.S. patent applications. Here is the growth in the number of internet users. And yes, my friends, there is a direct connection. And to add to the crisis, to those of you in the United States, 2 out of 3 patents are born outside or owned outside the USA. Yes, patents right now and technology is a global game. There are no borders to this. And the acceleration and the new competition is changing the world as we know it. What does a culture look like just before death? Well, as it turns out, I'm kind of old. I've been doing this for a long time. And these are among the companies, among others, Chrysler and some others, but these were ones that we had some very good data on these companies just before they stopped existing as independent organizations or ceased in total. And we had measured their culture, and their senior leaders were with us because they were in a challenging time. And what's interesting about it is that though they were in a challenging time, their agreement with the need to innovate and urgency to innovate was in the 40th and 55th percentile. Now you can understand this to a degree because their success with innovation was in the 40th percentile and courage to take action was in the 30th. Dr. Deming famously talks that 94% of failures are due to the system, 6% are due to the worker. And so our focus here is to talk about how to apply systems thinking to the field of innovation. During this webinar, I'm going to take you through the methods by which to do that. And the result of this will be an increased speed and decreased risk. During this webinar, I will also take you through a short demo of the Innovation Engineering Labs tools. I will show you how it works and give you some examples of the new technology that is slated, and it's in alpha and beta right now, and it's getting ready for first release within the next few weeks. Also, at the end of this webinar, Helen Potter will be joining me from the Edrington Group. She is an innovation engineering black belt and has been doing this for some time, and she's going to talk about how the education and the tools have impacted her in her work with bringing innovation to the Edrington Group. So we're talking about systems. We're talking about applying systems to innovation. And if you're like most people, you're thinking, okay, I get the concept of system thinking. You know, our organization does Lean. Our organization does Six Sigma. We do these things. But I thought that was for the factory. Well, as it turns out, Dr. Deming, who is the guy who, after World War II, rebuilt Japan, he came from Powell, Wyoming, the great state of Wyoming, and went to Japan in 1950 and literally transformed the way they did it, the way they manufactured. The factory offers 3% of the opportunity for company improvement, Deming said. He also wrote that the real impact of systems thinking will be seen in innovation, strategy, and how we work together. So this is a movement, ladies and gentlemen. It's called innovation engineering. It's a business operating system for enabling innovation by everyone, everywhere, every day, resulting in increased speed to market and decreased risk. So, as you can imagine, we spend a lot of time thinking about this purpose as to why we're here. And it is about business. It is not about the shiny new product. While that is part of it, it is really about how we run our business in today's challenging times. It's about taking ideas and making them real. If they're new products or improved products, it's about taking them to market. If it's about systems, new systems for how we work, it's about making those happen. If it's about new marketing programs or sales programs, it's about making those real. And the result of this is when we make the system change is an increased speed to market and a decreased risk. We're a small movement. I'll be perfectly honest with you. We while it's based on years, so over 30 years worth of research, it was really established as a movement in 2009. And we're small. Got about 30,000 educated. We got 50 partners, the network, some of which you saw at the front, 20 universities, and that's growing. We have about $8 billion worth of projects in active development on their way to the market, from small companies to large companies. And so what does it take to do this? Well, it takes three things. It takes some education. And I'm going to take you through a new way of thinking about how you run your business, and in particular, how you create innovation. And if you want to, take the word innovation and just call it change. The opposite of innovation is doing the same thing. Well, doing the same thing for a long time in a market that's moving faster is not a positive thing. I'll then take you through some tools to show you some tools, because while many of the people in the factory have wonderful tools, the people who have to do the strategy, innovation, how we work together, oftentimes don't have real tangible tools. So I'm going to show you tangible technologies, real technologies to do it. And then lastly, the thing you need is oftentimes some mentoring. Just like a doctor or a vet, watch one, do one, see one. Oftentimes when you get the education and the tools, still applying it in the real world takes some work. So let's go to education. Well, if we start out with some very simple questions, and the first of which is, what is an innovation? And this was a mistake we made early on. Early on, we made the assumption that everybody knew what was an innovation and why to do it. And the fact is we were absolutely wrong. And so we have to start with a common focus. And our common focus begins with a definition that what innovation is about, it's about ideas that are meaningfully unique. They have meaning and value, and they're new. They're genuinely new. A product or service is meaningfully unique when a customer is willing to pay more money for it. People don't voluntarily pay more money. If they're not willing to pay more money, then the opposite of being meaningfully unique is a commodity. And if price determines whether or not a customer buys, that means you don't have enough meaning and enough uniqueness to be worth the money. And you don't have to sell it for more. You can take it in volume if you'd like. Now, a system, an internal system for how we work, is meaningfully unique when your coworkers in the organization are willing to invest time, energy, and money to be on the team. And by meaning, what we're talking about is for three: meaningful to the customer or to the folks within the organization, meaningful to the company, yes, but also meaningful to you, because change is hard. And unless we personally are excited about it, it's just not going to happen. Within innovation, there are two levels of innovation. There are core innovations, and these are critically important. And these are the things where we're continuously making improvements and getting smarter. And then there are those innovations that create new trajectory, and we call those LEAP. Core and LEAP. A balanced portfolio is 85% core and 15% LEAP. But I should tell you that 50% of profit growth will tend to come from the LEAP stuff. There are two types of innovations. That's the classic ones, what we call very important opportunities, which are external for offerings, products, or helping us sell more to more people. And these are important. But just as important is what we call VIS, very important systems for how we work. And oftentimes, it's only by changing the systems that we can create many of those very important opportunities. Many teams will have brilliant ideas, and they will kill them because they'll say, that's not viable for us as an organization to go do. We use the terms VIO and VIS not to be funny or clever or anything, but it's because one of the things that's very important within innovation engineering, and you can see the little blue card there, is that we have alignment with strategy. And we ask the leadership what is very important, because we want to get all of our forces and our focus as on what really matters. So, why do we innovate? Well, quite simply, we're born, we grow, we hit our highest profits. We then go into cost cutting, and then we die. Frankly, all of us are going to pass at one point. All organizations pass, but they don't have to. They can be reborn. You can realize never-ending life. Innovation, when you make those significant changes, restarts the life cycle curve. So quite simply, we want to innovate because we don't want our organization to die. Friends, it is the best of times, it is the worst of times. If you are meaningful, unique today, it's never been a better time. And if you are not, if you offer the same old stuff, it's pretty terrible. So how do we do it? Well, we have by creating, communicating, commercializing, and systems. And in fact, this is the curriculum for the innovation engineering minor on campus or graduate certificate or executive education program. On campus, it's 6 semesters. The executive program takes about 6 months for you to do, with 93% of your time applied to your organization. And this is a change from where we've been in the past. Right now, the way we do it is if somebody wants to become a black belt, we really focus it so that almost all of your time is not in classroom, but it's in learning by doing is where we focus it. We use a unique system called Cycles to Mastery, which enables everybody who is willing to achieve mastery. We have 3 levels of training. The core is the black belts. These are the change agents. These are the people that lead it. Green belts are the employees, the team members, the project leaders. And then we also have one in the middle called the blue belt. And this is for the leadership. These are the management coaches. Now, oftentimes people will ask me the question, they'll say, Doug, does leadership really have to go to class and get educated? I mean, do we really have to do it? And the answer is, my friends, no, they don't. No, they don't. No. However, we must be honest with you because there are consequences. If the leadership has not gone through that, results decline by up to 85%. We track the data. This is the way it is. The good news is that leadership really, really matters. And when leadership is engaged, it is a major accelerator to the process of transformation. As we work, there are 3 roles: project leader, management coach, and process coach. They each have levels of training and then a project team. The project leader is the hub of the wheel. They're the project leader. They're responsible for the mission. They have all the responsibility for the mission and no authority over departments. It's modeled on the classic P&G brand manager or Toyota chief engineer. Think of it this way. You've got your silos. You've got departments across. What the projects leaders do is they take the mission and take it across the silos. They take across the silos. And we have some checks and balances with the silos, which is good because that makes us smarter. The management coach has the real understanding of the big picture. Their job is to be honest and helpful, with vertical alignment with the leadership and horizontal alignment across the departments. The process coach guides the system with education, tools, and mentoring. We create meaningful, unique ideas, and this comes from research from thousands of groups that we've measured in projects by exploring stimulus and then leveraging diversity, which is an exponential kick. And this is the potential of what we can do to the level that we drive out fear. Our create class is about stimulus and diversity. Our drive out fear is driven by communicate and commercialize. See, exploring stimulus is all kinds. The classic is customer insights and market mining. But we also add wisdom, patent, future, and unrelated mining. And this is what gives us the big leap ideas. Again, we want both core as well as leap. This is where we explore the stimulus, and we do it at 3 levels, from reporting to immersion to synthesis, going deep. We leverage diversity to open up our minds. But the problem is, meaningful, unique ideas spark fear. Now, the first method for driving out fear is to make the unknown, which is about looking at the idea from a customer's perspective. Who's the customer? What's their problem? What are we promising? And what proof can we have that we do it? When we look at it from a customer's perspective, or a stakeholder, if it's a system within the organization, what this does is it gives us a purpose to it. It gives meaning to it, that it's going to make a real difference in a customer's life. The second solution, which was probably even bigger, is to dissolve these fears, goes by many names. It's called the scientific method. It's called the Shewhart cycle. It's called the Deming cycle, plan, do, study, act. He changed it from check to study in his later years. Or we also call it fail fast, fail cheap. Now, lean startup and agile feature much of the do part to this. And they're sort of kindred spirits to the stuff that we're talking about. These are basically the same thing. Call them fail fast, fail cheap. Call it plan, do, study, act. It's the same thing. Plan, our definition of success for this death threat or milestone for the project. Do, our hypothesis of what we need to do to achieve success. Study, what did we learn? And act, based on what we learned, have we dissolved it, reached it, what are we going to do? Now, some learning cycles are simple, plan, do, study, act. But in today's world, some of them are very multidimensional because we have to look at any elements. Core to getting speed is to avoid the relay race. Because see, when we hand stuff off from department to department, and we hand it from silo to silo, as opposed to having a team that runs across these, an empowered team, not just dweebs on it, but really empowered team, then what happens is it's like playing whack-a-mole. Because see, if we have to hand it off silo to silo, it's going to take longer. If we can solve it simultaneously, we increase speed and decrease risk. So that's a snapshot of the education. Next up, tools. Wicked cool tools. So we have applied an element like no one has done before with creating some artificial intelligence advanced tools to help you do your job better. It starts with what's called the Collaboration Cafe, and this is all part of Innovation Engineering Labs that you'll set up a private portal. The Collaboration Cafe is a dashboard. We have blogs for your create and accelerated sessions, your projects. With one click, you can create a private blog. You get your patent alerts here when there's patent buying opportunities, your fail fast, fail cheap research, and your requests for others. All listed, all confidential, where you can control what people see and don't see, and to what level of security that you put on this stuff. Next up is the innovation pipeline. And this is where we put what we call the company blue cards and department cards and the yellow cards for all of the different types of projects that we're doing. And what this does is it drives alignment. Because we know that the singular most important thing to help people increase speed and decrease risk is alignment. I mean, some people said I need some education in it. But when we looked at the bigger picture, what we found was alignment is the critical issue. So we get vertical alignment, from strategy to tactics, or what we call blue cards to yellow cards. And we get horizontal alignments by defining what, why, and how as we take ideas from core ideas to the future. So many stage gate systems have very good definition of what. And what we do is we add why and how. And we don't try to manage all projects the same. We manage core projects different than leap projects. We have stock checklists that people work to run these. Innovation engineering is about freedom within a framework. It's about freedom within a framework. And so everybody's got a classic develop system to develop things. We add to the front of it a define and discover. We define the idea with clarity. And if it's truly meaningful, unique, there's going to be elements that we don't know how to do. There's going to be things we don't know how to do. And we're going to call these death threats. And in discover, we're going to run plan, do, study, act cycles to drive down the risk. But we're not going to stop there. Those plan, do, study, act cycles are going to continue through develop. The meeting rhythm's going to continue. And we're going to drive these ideas forward. It's about always getting smarter. What we're finding over and over again is that when we get that learning mentality, that plan, do, study, act cycles, and we keep those cycles going all the way through, the speed goes up and ideas go up in quality. Instead of ideas declining through development, they actually grow. And the question is how do you do this plan, do, study, act cycles? How do you start to run these things? Well, critical to this is when we're talking about this, we're talking about plan, do, study, act cycles that involve whether it's a stakeholder on a service or system inside or the customer. We don't do this stuff in a vacuum. So we need ways to get smarter. And that's where the fail fast, fail cheap section of Innovation Engineering Labs applies. It's named Merwin after my father's first name. My dad actually worked with Dr. Deming, and I named it after him in his honor. And it's a collection of fail fast, fail cheap tools. So let me show you a quick example. So, by the way, one thing you should know is this thing gives you total flexibility. So if you've got an idea, you can click on the fail fast, fail cheap tab and get started with it. Or as you see over on the right-hand side, you can see there's the yellow card for a project. You can take your project and go directly in to these right from your project. You can literally click from there to go. Okay, so you can see here, I say I need help. I have an idea, but it's not great. And right beside that, I can click on Idea Coach and I can get instant feedback. What it does is when I click that button, it goes to this screen. And what it's done is the computer, an artificial intelligence engine, has read your idea and identified some suggestions for making it better. You can do this over and over again. The research has shown that it improves the concept by 40%. Even more important is you can score how helpful the advice is, so the system always gets smarter. So in this example, it's probably too small to read, but let me just give it to you as to what it is. This happens to be a pizza concept because, well, I kind of like pizza. And the advice is make sure you promise to solve the problem. Problem and promise should be opposite of each other. If the problem is you are frustrated, then promise you won't be frustrated. If the problem is too slow, then promise fast. Okay, let me go see what I've done. Let's see, my problem is pizza is cold when it's served. Okay, I got it. Some pizza can get cold, especially takeout. My benefit promise, though, is great taste with less calories. Okay, I see this. These two don't align. This is not uncommon that we would have things that wouldn't align. So I make an improvement, I click and run again. So say I've done this a number of times, and then I go, you know something, my ideas are pretty decent, but I've kind of run out of thoughts. I need some fresh ideas. And by the way, this can be fresh writing or fresh math on your sales forecasts. It can do that as well. So I click on a button on the bottom and I click on idea doubling, and next thing you know, I go to another page where I can take my idea and now I can click on which areas I want ideas for. I can then send it to anybody that I'm collaborating with in my collaboration cafe. Or for example, we have an accelerator next week. And what we'll be doing during the accelerator is teams, when people have ideas, they will send it out to people who are in the room and not in the room, but participating virtually. So say they've written an idea and they need help with the name or the headline or different things, they can then send it out to a community of people who can come right back to them with ideas. So let's show you my example here. So my news headline was really great pizza for the people of today. And then I got some suggestions. And one came back from Greg that said, the only pizza that stays hot and keeps you looking hot because it's under 400 calories. Dang, that's pretty good. I guess I'll go with that. And so then I can take that and cut and paste it into my headline. I can keep working these tools. I can then send it back into my project. I can create a new project if it goes in a different direction. So what else can I do with Fail Fast, Fail Cheap? Well, there's a system called insight mining. We actually have in front of the accelerator next week, we have 3 separate surveys. We have 2 idea starter surveys, short phrases, some of some positionings, some of some different mini concepts that we've asked customers, potential customers, how much they like them and how new and different they are. We've also done a problem survey where we've asked people how big of a problem these things are and how frequent they are. So we have 3 separate surveys that we've done. And what happens is you can send it out with a click. It can go out to your test groups, or if you need to buy names, we have resources where we can send it to commercial vendors who can run the test for you. And here you can see I've got problems, and you can see it automatically graphs them and does your statistical testing to see on the demographics and the psychographic things, which type of concept appeals to which type of person. You can see how they go. And this is powerful for inspiring ideas. In addition, I can get what's called video crosstabs. When I capture the data, say I've got frontline people, say I've got a collection of stores or retail outlets, or I've got salespeople that are calling on folks, I can have them with their phone or iPad, whatever it might be, at the end ask a question and literally capture short videos that can be resorted based on the responses to the ideas. I can see a quick video of the people that liked the ideas, a quick video of the people that didn't like the ideas. And I can download this and put it into a presentation. Not only can I do that, so I've got my ideas, I've got some idea starters, I've tested them, I've done an idea coach, I've done idea doubling. Now I want to get some more team feedback. I want to get it a little bit deeper. So now what I can do is I can send my idea out all the people on my team or people outside the team, have them score my idea on some validated constructs. It comes back with a report that tells me my probability of success, which I can use in a forecasting tool. It also gives me red, yellow, green on clarity, promise, proof, and uniqueness. And not only that, it gives it to me for each one of the people I sent it to. So you can't see this, but my score, as an idea I wrote, I scored it overall. It got an overall rating of 48, and 29 is average. So 48, I thought pretty good. But my team, on the other hand, including one person, saw it as a 15. My team saw it not nearly as good. Now, it's not a matter of what is truth, but what's important here is that we discuss this as a group. Because what happens is we lose alignment in our teams. And by having this conversation, we can get ourselves aligned. Maybe people don't understand things. Maybe I'm scoring stuff that I know in my head, but that isn't in the words. On top of that, I can get ideas and advice from team members. I can also get closest competitors, other options that they found that are close to this. And this helps me. And imagine next week as we're doing the accelerator, us being able to send this out and to get people to score it and to see where it comes. Not only can I do the idea, I can take it all the way through to a sales forecast and get a forecast with a Monte Carlo simulation, introducing the idea some 30,000 times, and I can do it as many times as I want to see what the potential for ideas are. Lastly, two more. We've got Truth Teller, 17 times smarter than humans. So Idea Scan is directional to where you go. But the validated one, which is done with independent and much bigger base and elements to it, 7 times smarter than humans at picking ideas, and we can do rapid tests, concept use, paired comparison, single product, with one-click setup and automated statistics. Last couple of elements of tools, patent ROI. We have a thing called Invention Blueprints that allows us to find patents that are what we call flea market, $250,000 a year, that are going to go into the public domain that you can buy real cheap. You can easily find free patents that you can build off on ideas. We've got an ideas to patents process where you can write up provisional in about an hour. A totally new structure for this that uses Plan, Do, Study, Act to do it. And we can market our patent assets and put those together. We've got a new structure coming on tools where we've got a fast filter and a special folder such that your first create session, your first accelerator, and your memory bank for your organization. And this takes all of the create tools, the communicate, and the commercialize tools and makes us easier to get to them. We have the classroom, which has 150 or so videos, all the way down to skills and sub-skills so that you can give the team some quick learning. We have upgraded the Create to 3.0, Communicate to 3.0, Commercialize is 2.5, and coming soon, both Commercialize and Systems will go up to the 3.0 version. And most importantly of all, you can't have a system unless you have documentation. And so we have complete documentation on how to do it, which is ironic because one of the things that you find is that the burger flipper at the local fast food joint actually tends to have more documentation than most people running big projects. And I understand they're different, but it isn't that different. You got to educate them, folks. How could they know any other way? And we got a wonderful support community. So in closing, there's 3 ways people can get started with some of this stuff to do it. You can, when it comes to innovation, you can say, hey, I need some ideas, I need capability, I need a culture. But none of these are perfect. In fact, I'll be very honest, having done this now for a long, long time, all of these have pains. When you go get some ideas from the outside and do some things, you're going to feel the pain of moving the mountain of negativity. as the ideas come in. They're not invented here kicks it. We've all been through it. Developing the capability, you got the family feud that you got to mediate, as you now have people that are seeing things one way versus another. And yes, they can train them, but it's going to be some pain. And growing a culture, teaching old dogs new tricks, well, you know what that's going to be like. It's going to be hard. So they're not perfect. None of them are. But depending upon where you are, we can help you, or in the Innovation Engineering Network can help you with any of these directions. If you're looking to change your culture at the highest order, then it's education, tools, and mentoring. Building a capability, it's education and tools. Creativity and ideas, it's tools and mentoring. And we have these for no matter what size organization you are. We have them for companies, and exactly like the U.S. Patent Office. The U.S. Patent Office has a different structure. They offer scholarships as you become small and micro business organizations. And so we have programs from very, very small companies to big multinationals, and we have them all involved and engaged right now in the process. Now, I'll be perfectly honest, the easiest for most companies, the easiest way to start for them is to grow capability, to bring in education and tools. It's a way for them to get a team of people together and to get started in a place. It's not the fastest way to do it. You know, the fastest way is to have some capability and have somebody helping you with it. But the easiest way for most is to grow capability. And this would be going through Innovation Engineering College for either Blue Belt or Black Belt and getting a private portal that we can get set up easy. So, ladies and gentlemen, our mission is to change the world. And I can tell you with confidence we can and we are changing the world. We can enable everyone to innovate, or at least 90%. That's what our academic research is and our education research is starting to see. We can increase speed to market up to a factor of 6. We can decrease risk by 30 to 80%. We can increase development success by 250%. But to be perfectly honest, more important than any of these is we can make life fun again, infinitely. Innovation Engineering, a business operating system for enabling innovation by everyone, everywhere, every day, resulting in increased speed to market and decreased risk. Brought to you by the Innovation Engineering Network. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring in Helen Potter into the conversation. And Helen is on the verge of becoming a black belt. She's down to her patent, finishing her patent, which hopefully in the next couple of days we will have resolved as we do it. And you've been doing this for some time. Start out first, and you're part of Edrington.
That's right.
Which does which products?
Well, we're primarily a Scotch whisky business, and our flagship brands are the Macallan single malt Scotch whisky, Highland Park. We also own the famous grouse, Cutty Sark, and we've recently diversified into rum. We have Brugal rum and also vodka, the Snow Leopard vodka.
Snow Leopard. All fine products, I will say.
Thank you.
Yes, we have a good amount. So talk to me about education. You know, oftentimes with executive education, people think, okay, let me just go do the seminar and I got it. Okay. What's been your experience going through the education on this?
Sure. Well, I happen to subscribe to the view that education is something that happens to you, and learning is something that you do for yourself. And this has absolutely been a learning journey.
Yes?
Yeah.
How much of a change of mindset do you find as you go through it?
It's significant. It's a whole new way of thinking, and it doesn't just impact on the way I think about business. It has impacted on the way I think about everything in life.
Can you give me an example of how you thought one way before and now you've caught yourself seeing things now in a different way?
Well, when we started, I was keen to learn some tools that would help me be more creative, to enable the business to come up with ideas. I knew that we could get smarter at communicating those ideas, and I saw innovation as something that we would do through idea generation. And the flip that I made partway through is that it's not about doing innovation, it's about becoming innovative. And that's an end-to-end system, it's a way of thinking. And what innovation engineering does, it offers you an operating system. So I think if I were going out to set up a business tomorrow, I would know the management system I would use for that new business, and it would be innovation engineering. So it's more than a bunch of tools, it's an operating system.
And that's a common challenge that we find, is that people think about an innovation system as another way to create ideas. It's called the great idea hunt. And in fact, the research shows, as you know, they did a study of companies that had found big ideas at MIT. They'd licensed them. And when they took those ideas, MIT, very difficult to go through the licensing. And you go through that process, and big companies get them. 80% of the times, they never ship. That 80%, Steve Jobs famously said 90% of it was in development. And ideas to market, the most valuable place for all of these tools is in the development process.
Absolutely.
And because what we tend to do is we tend to compromise ideas as opposed to problem solve and make them better.
I think that's one of the most valuable things that we learn as we go through the training program. It's those problem solving skills. And really acknowledging up front when you have a very strong idea what the death threats are, what could possibly kill this project, and by identifying those and prioritising them and treating them as a problem solving exercise, those issues are faced up front, and you gradually start to knock down the hurdles, and hopefully there's less of a compromise as the idea moves through the business.
Sure. And talk about tools a little bit. You know, when we talk about tools, and I show all these wild tools, which is, you know, most of the time a tool is somebody's got a PowerPoint slide of some construct they've got. I mean, it's not often that in the innovation field we have tangible stuff. But how have you found the tools? How have they been valuable to you? And you haven't, some of the stuff's new, which you haven't used yet, although you've played with some of them. But the stuff that you've seen in the 2.0 version, how have they impacted how your teams work and how you work? How have they been helpful to you?
Probably the most powerful tool, and probably my favourite tool actually, is the blue card, and it's deceptively simple. But the output of forcing somebody to think about the brief very deeply, or to think very deeply about the very important problem, and to write a narrative for that is succinct, that captures all the key information, to write the brief very clearly, what's required, and importantly to articulate what the constraints are and what's excluded from the brief. It's such a powerful tool for driving alignment and to be very clear what the business wants. And I think that's one of the key benefits of the tools that you provide, the clarity and the focus.
Yeah, so what happens is, folks, is that you're able to see. Management takes their strategy, we do it called strategy activation. We have clarity to the strategy. And with that strategy, what we're going to do, I'm just going to move this over a little bit. With that strategy, what we're able to do is to, when they go online, you can see the blue card, and then all the yellow card projects. This gives what in the military they call commander's intent, and it gives clarity to where it is that we're going. And so we've got real clarity to that. And that makes the project teams know that when they're working on something, why is this something that matters? And they know the boundaries to it. Do it. How is it with project teams on the weekly meetings? How does that work?
Well, we very quickly look at what we've learned. So I would say I've got more experience as a project leader than a project coach as a relatively new black belt. And what I find really useful sitting down with a process coach as the project leader, there's a focus on what have we learned since we last sat down, and then what should we do moving forward. And hopefully your management coach joins you at that point as well. And if there are any issues that are preventing the project moving forward, they're flagged and the management coach can go and deal with it. So it provides focus on the next steps.
Yeah, this is a miracle, folks. Imagine if, let's just say it, here we are near the end of January. Imagine if every week, every 7 days since January 1, you had gotten smarter, tangibly smarter. That's what we're talking about. Constant dripping wears away the stone. How can we get smarter every single day? And that's what it's going to drive, is that cycle of plan, do, study, act. And not just in the front, but all the way through the process, continuing to have that discipline to go through it and do it. Okay? Any other last thoughts before we open it up to some questions? If you've got questions, feel free to type them in. We'll have a few minutes here to take your questions. On what innovation engineering means to you.
Gosh, well, as I said, yeah, it's a whole new way of thinking. It's that flip from doing innovation to being innovative and doing things that really matter, focusing on something that's going to make a difference. And the joy, I think, of accepting that it's continuous learning, which is wonderful. We talk about cycles to mastery, but I don't ever expect to get to mastery. I've been sitting on the sidelines getting excited about new tools that I haven't even used yet. And, it's just the joy of continuously getting better, continuously getting smarter.
It was said that, you can oftentimes, looking in the past, it's easy to connect the dots things. Mm-hmm. But when you do things in the future, and sometimes you create new technologies, some of the new technologies that I was just showing here today that we've had in alpha and beta, sometimes you don't even know quite what they're going to do. But when you get them out there with customers and you get customers using them, they discover whole new things you didn't even imagine. I was with some teams this week and they came up with some ideas for ways to use this stuff totally different than what we were thinking. And people say, oh, you didn't do a good job. You should have planned for that. Mm-hmm. Or you could say, I'm going to be dynamic and we're going to walk the talk of the stuff that we teach. In other words, as we go through development, we take it out to the customers, we get those cycles, we work with them to go do it. And so what I always love about innovation engineering is there's nothing that we're teaching that we don't do. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about something, it's real. Mm-hmm. And I know on campus, that's what kicks butt, because the students are tired of learning stuff that doesn't matter. They want stuff that really matters. You got a number of compliments, so you got some nice compliments for some people. Thanks for showing some of the new intelligent tools. Is there a new release date? The network's going to get it maybe next week or the week after, but very soon, within the next week or two. We've got a few final things that are doing. We're getting there. If you saw quickly as you saw it, that was the alpha site because of the thing. You started to see we're starting to make it look pretty. That's always the last thing we do when it's getting ready to go is we start to make the stuff look pretty. We work on the function first and then add the form to it. So we're very close to that. So within the next couple of weeks, and I would imagine the network folks will have it so that they can explain it to folks and teach them with it. And then it should be out broadly by mid-February is what we're guessing. That's what it looks like before. Other questions that folks have? This is a crazy thing, though, to do this, isn't it? That's great fun. So we got people from all over. Questions? I know we've got a number of people. We got a huge audience here today. People from around, and so I'm just scanning through the teams here. Got a CEO on who's asking that likes you talking about this stuff. Okay. And examples from that. Will slides or video be available for download? Yeah, we'll have different elements of this stuff up. We oftentimes will take these things and post them. They go up to we have a YouTube channel, and we usually put those things up. And we can get you slides or any of that kind of stuff. They're all available. You'll get a note, a thank you, and if you've got a specific thing, just respond back and let us know what we can do to help you, or we can get somebody to come around to do it. How long does it take to become a certified innovation engineering black belt? Okay, so there's been some improvements. Yes.
Don't ask.
Don't ask. Yeah. So Helen, so ladies and gentlemen, here's the way the thing works. We're really doing this, and that means it starts out a certain way, and you get smarter and smarter. And the new innovation engineering black belt we've gone through 3 versions. We're really at the 3rd version of this stuff. Which I don't know what I found, but I found that basically the 3rd version you usually get it right. By the time you get there, you get much more closer. It's almost like standard, 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, 3 standard deviations. It's kind of that version. And so the new one, it really is, it's going to be about a 6-month process. So you have to take a couple of days to watch videos. There's a week of Innovation College. And then you have much fewer applicationist lab classes, but then all the application classes that we used to do there, which resulted in a huge pile, have now been moved out separately to you working on your business. So instead of you having to do like you did, where you work on your work and then you have to do applications that are on case studies, which is what you had, mm-hmm. Now all your application will be done as you apply it to your work. Mm-hmm. So is that a little bit better?
Yeah. Well, I had motivational issues halfway through, I think it's fair to say. Yeah. But no, it wasn't bad. It's got better.
Yeah. So this is going to be a lot it's going to be a lot easier for you to do it, because basically if you just basically run a project as a project leader through it, you should be able to tick the box on all the application assignments. And again, it's about removing do work. And I'll tell you honestly, the thing that we did is we build this curriculum for campus, and we've got wonderful partners at the University of Maine and the Foster Center that help us with this, and we have a great wonderful team that works on this. And when we had kept them the same in both, for a lot of reasons, and we've kept the 48 skills the same in both, but we realized that we were sub-optimizing the education for the executives, and so that's what led to the change. And it's a much better system. So significantly faster. How quickly did your company adopt the Blue Card as a guiding element to your system? Did it take long for them to see the value proposition of the Blue Card? So one thing you should know is that Edrington has been doing this stuff in various forms for 12 years. So much, much longer than when innovation engineering was out. And the Blue Cards there was a learning curve to it.
Yeah, but we endeavoured to implement them straight away as soon as they were out.
Yeah.
Understanding the power of them and their potential, we gave them a road test right away. And you can say good decision or bad decision. Those of us that are involved in innovation engineering are delighted they got road tested. But then we had to fight back where there were strengths and weaknesses in the way that we did that. And there are always people ready to say, that's not working. Why have we got so many blue cards? Rather than, wow, these are really demonstrating a lack of alignment in our business. What can we do about it? So there's a journey there, and no regrets. We're better at using them, and we'll continue to get better.
And last week I heard John was telling me about a meeting where one of the big bosses was there, and was 3 blue cards, clarity on 3 blue cards on Monday, on Tuesday. And it's probably fair to say that there is absolute clarity that there are 3 blue cards.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Good.
Yeah,
and I think one of the hidden benefits of the blue card is, in my situation, sort of middle management, senior management, it's the ability to manage upwards. Many's a time before I've taken a brief, believed that I understood what the project was, and then actually there's that kind of shifting sands. Oh, did you really mean that? Oh, now you're telling me this? Whereas up front, you can really sit down and thrash out what's in, what's out, what's on brief, what's not on brief. So there's a bit of hidden power there for me. Managing upwards is facilitated as well. So
the accelerator we've got coming up, which that's why you're here.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing the accelerator next week. Really advanced in pushing it. And by the way, those of you out there, their experience that they went through, you now gain from that, because we let loose on the teams without some of the proper education we needed. And so next thing you know, people were writing blue cards like yellow cards, and they had 15, 20 things. And it was chaos. But the leadership's alignment. But it's interesting, even for this project next week, I had people coming to me with ideas, and I said no. They said, but we should. I said, the blue card says no. That's it. End of discussion. Focus, 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 which was just plain wonderful. Next question. If my company has had little success with innovation, should we start with ideas closer in, or really go for big ideas to start? How do we think about this choice? Well, boy, you can debate it both ways, can't you?
You can, yeah.
You can debate it both ways. On the one side is the walk before you run, walk before you run to build momentum. The problem with that is you don't end up doing anything that's meaningful enough to matter. And so people then say, well, that's an awful lot of work for a little thing. What's your opinion? If you were starting fresh?
Well, based on experience, I've actually found it easier to get leap innovations away because they're not impacted upon by an existing set of systems. So, we haven't re-engineered our whole business structure to be innovative. So I've been in a situation where I've been running projects, and if they're totally outside the business capability, then you go outside and you find somebody who can deliver what you need for that project. And so by kind of removing the project from the existing business systems, you can actually get further faster with your cycles of learning with partners.
Yeah, and you did that.
Yeah, and we did that. So it was. I wouldn't have said that before that experience. It was quite surprising that we got to market so quickly with something so different in that particular case. And yet you can run, trying to drive something meaningfully unique through an existing business system can be very tough. So it depends who you've got in your business, what skill sets are.
But I got to tell you, the way I'm approaching it now with people is to talk about it as a business operating system with leadership, or a division leadership, or whatever it might be, depending upon the organization, and talk about it from that way. And sometimes the best answer is not one of those two, but it's taking an existing idea and accelerating it in development. Mm-hmm. Because everybody's got stuff in development that's going nowhere, and people know it. And we can run idea scan with the people to see where the teams are and see it. But I'm finding, and best of all worlds is we wouldn't start at the front because it's such a long path sometimes, starting sometimes in the middle, because it's about a way of thinking and a different way of doing it. But we're not there yet. Everybody, the minute we say innovation, it starts at the front. Let's run a session to create ideas. And it's like, we don't need ideas. 80-90% of it is the system for getting the ideas through. What size companies are now becoming your sweet spot? Multinationals, medium size, small size, and micro size. Mm-hmm. And I can say we have got vitality in all of those areas. And what we're finding is that there's a way of thinking that when we get that way of thinking, whether we're there's a nonprofit that is cranking stuff forward. There are some micro companies that are doing some phenomenal stuff. We've got Fortune 50 companies that are doing phenomenal stuff, and we've got mid-sized companies that are doing it. And so the sweet spot is, if I was to say what the sweet spot is a leadership who's decided this ain't working. It's time to try something different. I mean, it really is. It's really a mindset. Are the people ready to change? Are they ready to do something different? Will the tools be available to all companies? I am very proud to say that we made a major change January 1 in our structures of how we work. And previously, because we do have a scholarship program for mid-sized and small companies, we also had different tools available to different levels of companies. And today, we formalized the scholarship program, and everybody gets everything. Every company that's doing it gets everything. Now, students have a little bit difference. There's a little bit of a difference on students just because of some different needs and security things and confidentiality and stuff that we have to do over there. But every organization, whether you're a 5-person small micro company in an innovation engineering huddle, we call it, which is a real small company, or you're multinational, you get the exact same tools. And we are not going to dumb it down, and we don't limit it to you anymore. You get it. Now, you may not need some of the capability, but our goal is one day you're gonna. I mean, I was with a guy yesterday. He's got a business about $250,000, and we got talking, and he wants to become $1 million company. Now, that may not seem like much, but when you're $250,000 and a 3-person company and you want to become $1 million, that's a big growth. And so everybody gets the same. How do I upgrade my account to have access to the tools? If you send me an email, or either respond back to the thing or respond to me directly at doug@innovationengineering.org, doug@innovationengineering.org. I will look into it to see where you are. Depending upon where we are, we have different people at different positions. Sometimes people came in from leadership institutes and they've been changed, and that will all get cleared up through the year, but let me know, and we can get you set up. It's not a big deal. We can do that. Got a comment here from somebody who has been using some of the beta stuff. So in the system here, which I went over quickly, there are, and you guys are about to implement this. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think next week, a week after next, is a whole meeting about this. Mm-hmm. We have pre-populated checklists for everything you have to do to mitigate the risk to take an idea out. We have what you need to do, why you need to do it, and how. And the comment here is, I really like the best practice lists, especially the how section. It'd be really cool if there was a quick link to the recommended tools, or even have the ability to set up your own customized toolbox with the tools we use more often. Is this a possibility or a consideration for future versions? The answer is yes, they're both coming. You will have hot links to be able to go to the 150 videos. You will also be able to add your own videos in the memory bank. That part will be coming in June. you'll be able to do that. But that's the idea, is that your company, this is your operating system to be able to customize. In fact, I was just talking with some people this week about doing those same things. Any other questions the folks have? So this week, you're here because we're preparing, because we have a very important project next week. And I'm mentoring you, and John and Ken are going to be leading the session with my support. But you're also, guys are on the front end, so you're going through building Spark decks and stuff, and you're getting the opportunity to do them multiple times.
Yeah. It's a wonderful opportunity. Yeah.
So tell me what this has been like preparing this time, because we're really doing disciplined mentoring to basically take you up. Because you've had some leap ideas, but we're looking to really take the leap up. I mean, this has been a major push that you've done. Just so the folks are aware, in preparation for the accelerator, what has it been, about half dozen Create sessions have been held?
Yep.
So Create sessions on work streams for product, for packaging, for positioning, for go-to-market, for different things. There have been like 6 Create sessions held in advance to create stimulus for this week accelerator to take stuff to a much higher level.
Yeah.
What's this been like for you versus what we've been doing in the past?
Well, it's much deeper necessarily, and rightly so. It's obviously a lot more time consuming, but what we're doing is thinking very deeply about the problem from all different angles. So there's not a focus on the solution, there's a focus about what information can we bring to the table. No, that's wrong actually. It's not information, it's about what learns can we bring, what can we learn before we even get into the session that we can provide as very strong stimulus.
So, it's been a lot of time. How do we justify the fact that it's a lot of time?
Well, it's because it's a very important issue for the business.
From the CEO and the board.
Yeah.
CEO and board says
it's the most important thing we have to focus on as a business.
And that makes it pretty easy. See, now all of a sudden, while we've got a lot of time it's taken, everybody knows we have very senior people coming, full contact engagement with people coming from around the world to do this. And excitingly, next week, we will also have people on multiple continents helping us simultaneously. So as we're creating ideas, those ideas will be going out, and the tools you just saw for testing them and evaluating them and getting feedback and doubling and idea requests are going to be going out all over the world to within the Edrington world to be getting feedback and support for it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I love the idea that there may not be a debate on how good or bad the idea is. There's just only going to be ideas and feedback. So.
Yes, one of the big things that happens with an accelerator is normally we like to create ideas and then debate them to death. Accelerator is about empowering the individual. So we create ideas, and here's what's going to happen. At about 4 o'clock tomorrow on Tuesday, anybody who's got an idea that they feel passionate about will then go into testing. It will go into quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative, it will be sent out on the internet through the idea starter thing that you saw, and we will have people, 100, 200 people around the world who will score the ideas, potential customers. At the same time, we'll have a couple dozen customers come in to run an interact session. So we'll be doing qualitative here, and while we're doing qualitative, quantitative will be held. And the next morning, we'll have the results from all of this. We'll start all over again. Teams will create ideas will die, new ideas will be born. That night we'll do it again. And then like Groundhog Day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll do it again. And by the time we get to Thursday, we'll start to get to some ideas that are starting to work. And then with those ideas, on Friday we'll put together a plan, and the plan on this is to take 3 ideas out to market into a learning lab. So even then, we're not going to pick the answer. And so those people that like to debate are going to have a hard time next week. But for most people, we're very blessed because Susie, the leader in charge of the brand, is very committed to empowering individuals. She believes that it comes from somebody having an idea. So we've got great alignment with that. The question is, will green belts have access to the same tools in the portal as the black belts? No, they don't. If you saw when I went back through the quick thing, there are black belt exclusives. Not that we're trying to restrict, but frankly, they are not simplified enough yet that anybody can use them, and so they need somebody to help them with them. It's the same with the complete library. The black belts do that because you're the guides for helping with that. What types of things are you doing to help organizations get a sales forecast? We've had a hard time using the estimated tools to get an accurate forecast. Usually we end up much lower in the estimate. Well, there's two things. One is that you really need to go through the classes, because we've got some tools for improving the estimates, and there's a whole class in this on improving estimates that you have to do, and so you have to do that. Second thing is in the systems class, there's a whole class there about what's called forensics, and you need to build a lookup table, which we've done with Edrington, because sometimes we're just wild-ass guessing, and that doesn't do us any good. And so there's a whole class called Delphi and a system for doing that, and so you need to do that. The third thing, so two of them are education. You just don't know what you're doing. You got to get educated. You got to learn from that. The third thing that you can do is a tool that we've given you, which is now we have Monte Carlo simulations. So before you were doing point estimates. Now what you do is you put in a low, a high, and a best guess, and it creates a probability curve, and it introduces it 10,000 times, and that drives out the risk and reduces the risk in it. So it's a much smarter way to do it. I can see by the clock that our time is done. I want to thank you, Helen, for your time, and I'd like to thank everybody, and in particular, the Innovation Engineering Network, and our friends around the world in the Innovation Engineering Network. These people are world-class. They are world-class people. If they can help you, please contact them, or if you contact us, we'll connect you to one in your area. Thank you very much, everybody. Have fun.